mean, we had a series of these things, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way the Obama administration did act.
So in the middle of this, like nougat in a candy bar, is FBI Director James Comey, who has more than once found himself politically doing some gymnastics. So what do you make of the fact that he's calling on the DOJ, right, to say that the president was wrong and that there is no evidence? Why can't he ask the questions himself? Why can't he step up himself?
Well, why the rush to that conclusion? And I think the mistake that the president made was using the term wiretapping because it allows,
what should he have said?
It allows Democrats to just focus on that one word. And I think that's where we're misplacing the energy, because the government can, without warrants rather, and in secret, spy on pretty much everyone at any time through a number of means, including the FBI has the power to read essentially every email by accessing the cloud.
Yeah.
And there have been a number of whistleblowers over the years who've said that these programs are encroaching on our civil liberties. And I think if the president feels that his privacy and that of some of his surrogates and people who worked on the campaign, if that was compromised, he should come out against this kind of government mass surveillance. I think that's the right thing for him to do, and I think we have to ask more and not get caught up simply on the wiretapping, but how is the government spying? How is it being misused? And how can we fix the problem?
But as John Roberts so eloquently pointed out at the top of his report, this was a very artful way of distracting from what was the Jeff Sessions problem for this administration. It did distract from that, coming out with these bold accusations of wiretapping, and it also distracted from Republicans like yourself, Congressman, who were calling very early on, you were one of the first high-ranking Republicans to call for Jeff Sessions to recuse himself without any actual evidence of him.
Isn't somebody curious as to why 24 hours after Donald Trump probably has his best moment with the joint session of Congress, 24 hours later, you have both the Washington Post and the New York Times out there with big stories about, I mean, the timing to me just really doesn't quite smell quite right. Nevertheless, when I heard him, when the Attorney General himself said that he would recuse, I thought, you know what, that is the right thing. Yeah, if it was appropriate, I thought that is the right answer. If it's about the campaign and he was actively involved in the campaign, he probably should step back. And so he did the two things that I at least put out on a tweet and said he should clarify, which he has, and the number two thing is he should probably recuse himself if it's appropriate.
I want to get back to wiretapping. What Kennedy said really had me scratching my head, because what you're talking about is more than semantics. It's the actual legal term for things. And Megan, what I love sometimes that you will do is drill this down to where the American people really care. Where are we on that?
I mean, I came in today and I could not stop myself from talking to you. I was like, Harris, we have to break this down before I go on the show. My own personal focus group of friends, the American public are really confused on both sides, on the left and the right. If this is as serious as Watergate, which the president himself said it possibly could be, I would have had him preferred to have him come on television, do a sit-down interview with someone, just maybe do a straight-to-camera, whatever, saying it's an extremely serious issue. I, Meghan McCain, have reason to believe that, yeah, President Obama, I wouldn't put this past him. Look what they did to the Tea Party groups, IRS specifically targeting Tea Party groups. There's a whole litany of reasons why the American public could come to the conclusion that this is feasible and possible, but the way it was executed in a tweet, followed up a half hour later about a tweet about The Apprentice's ratings, that makes me take it less seriously. And as I have said all along, the political execution in their communications department and his Twitter account, I consider his communications department, they are losing this battle right now. Because again, when people are confused on the messaging on both sides, you haven't done it successfully.
Or when they're talking about the things that are not Obamacare, or not the immigration travel ban, second part or take two on an executive order, when they're not talking about those things that affect millions and millions of people, then the messaging is defunct.
Okay,
but maybe not.
To your point, though, and Sandra, you touched on this a little bit, the distraction seems to be from the Sessions news. I actually think it's from something else. I actually think that it's a distraction from Obamacare, because there's a lot of strife within the Republican Party and between the House and Senate as to what exactly we're going to do. And this takes some of the focus away from that schism.
So there's a lot going on. You saw Senator Chuck Schumer say that this is a prime opportunity for Democrats to take advantage of the fact that Republicans are not in agreement on what's happening with Obamacare. I guess that means we'll see a bill or something from them and that they'll come to the table unlike Inauguration Day?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they've Mr. Schumer, I'm sure, will be first to market to be there to try to lend a helpful hand. That's what he's always doing. Look, I think the replacement for Obamacare is like hours away from being introduced. We're that close. And then there'll be a vigorous debate, and there should be, unlike how the Democrats did it, where they just force-fed it through the Congress Nancy Pelosi's way. So
well, one thing Senator Rand Paul, and we'll get more into Obamacare, said last night is that, you know what, you don't want to look like the people that you just criticized, and you're starting to look like the people you just criticized. That's his concern. But again, that's coming up. But we're not talking about that yet because we've got still this thing with the wiretapping, supposedly.
We're going to have to walk and chew gum, too, so there's a lot to do.
Wow, I love gum. President Trump is signing his revised travel ban executive order today. That's where we started the hour. The changes to the ban and whether it will be able to make it through the courts this time. And pro-Trump rallies got a little heated over the weekend. Counter-protesters showed up, clashing with the president's supporters. Whether Mr. Trump can heal the divisions in the country, or should we expect to see a lot more of what you see there on your screen?
Stop! 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 Let him go!